We are live, everybody. Excited to be live on Thursday, April 10th, 2025. Let's talk NFL draft. That's what we talk here. We talk NFL draft. I will be going live during the NFL draft, hopefully during the entire NFL draft. I'll be bringing on some, something lost power, has connection to your camera. Make sure you have the right camera selected. Woo, okay. That is not good, huh? What is happening here? We're going to change the camera. Is it going to change? All right. It is not changing. All right. I have to change my camera. And we're already having difficulties. That's fantastico. All right. We're back on. I don't know what happens there. Am I muted? Sometimes I get muted. All right. Let's talk NFL draft. Let's talk who's going to make the biggest surprise. Some of my predictions. I would not bet this way, anyone, but the fact that Dallas still needs a running back could be a tell. Obviously, there's a lot of good running backs in this draft class. I suspect if Dallas is going to make a move, if they're going to be on the cheap like they have been for the last few years, or for as long as Jerry Jones has been owning the team, so decades, there could be a possibility that they trade up, try to get Ashton Jeanty, try to get Hampton, one of the top running backs. They do have a big hole to fill, and they haven't signed anybody. So I do think that Dallas could be a team that trades up. Well, I guess that just trades up, that, gets a team. So we will see how that goes. Let me put my background on here because it's really boring the way you're looking at me. So I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. If you're watching here, please feel free to hit that like and follow button. The follow on TikTok and the like button on both, and the subscribe button on. Why is this not working? All right. Yes, this is crazy. I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties already. And I know you guys really don't care, and I don't blame you. All right. Can I get. There we go. All right. I'm back to it. All right. So we are live. And let's see. All right. So what do you want to talk about? Who's going to make the biggest splash? I think Dallas is going to go cheap. I think Dallas probably moves up and gets one of these great running backs, Jeanty, Hampton, somebody like that, in the draft. Let's see, top draft by position, just so I don't forget anyone. But that's what I think. They have a big hole. They basically let Rico Dowdle get away. So I just think that's how they're going to do it, that they're going to trade up. So now there's also talk that that the Giants might pick whatever defensive player is available, or non-quarterback is available at number 3, and then trade up. Hey, Bingo, how are you? Over on YouTube? Glad to have you on board. What do you think about the draft? Who do you think's going to sign? Where's everything going? Let's get some rock and roll going on over on TikTok. I'm over on TikTok. All right, Bingo, thank you. You love my vids. Okay, well, as of right now, I have no reason to believe that you're just teasing me, because oftentimes when I go around 8 o'clock at night, which is I'm Central Time, I get a lot of jokes from people, but I appreciate that. I'm going to take you at your words. I really do appreciate that. What we need to do is hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit that follow button on TikTok. That way, when I go live, hit that like button right now on both. So we get those likes going. I'd love that. All right. Thank you. You're not teasing. Oh, Bingo. Yeah, I think. Were you here recently? Bingo. Did I get a message from you? I remember something. You put up a video today, or you had a comment recently, didn't you, Bingo? Now that you say it, Bingo is familiar, or maybe I'm just losing my mind. It could be that. So, I mean, this draft, like, I'm ready for the draft. Is anybody just ready for the draft like I am? Like, okay, enough. I know we still have 2 weeks. I get it. I totally get it. But let's just do it. The mock drafts. I get it. They're paid to do this. They're all excited about it. I haven't done a mock draft because I really think that it's it's worse than hitting in Major League Baseball, because if you hit 300 in Major League Baseball, that's pretty good, but you'll be lucky to get 200 on these drafts, because the Giants could pick Shedeur Sanders and at number 3, but people are saying that they're going to pick somebody else at number 3 right now, and they could come out of the woodwork and pick Ashton Ginty at number 3. So I mean, so what do you got for me, Bingo? What do you got? You got any draft thoughts, since you seem to be the top chatter here tonight, which I appreciate? I have to tell you that let's just see here. My playbook research. Let's look at the draft guide. There we go. Is that it? Okay, let's see. Mock draft with trades and mock draft. I don't want the mock draft. Fantasy Discord. All right. So, what do we have right now on the draft? What are you guys thinking? I think Dallas could make a couple, at least one move to get a running back. I think that the Giants will probably try to get 2 people in the first round. I think they'll go for possibly, what are they saying? Abdul Carter is, because it looks like it's going to be Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. So the Giants might pick Carter at number 3, but then I keep reading everything that tells me that the Giants are going to try to trade up maybe in the 20s and get a quarterback. Now, a lot of people are saying that quarterback might be Shedeur Sanders. That could be the case. Now, in Mel Kiper's mock draft, so mock drafts really aren't worth much more than the paper they're printed on, because they're probably at least 70% wrong. But Mel Kiper the other day put out his 4th mock draft that said that Shedeur Sanders could go 9th, or he's projecting him to go 9th with New Orleans. So what say you? You think Shedeur Sanders is picked in the top 10? Do you think he's in the 20s where the Giants can trade up and get him again? I do think there'll be some wheeling and dealing. I think it's clear that the Giants have a plan for this year when it comes to quarterback, but beyond this year, they don't have much going on. When you sign Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, you're not really giving your fans a strong reason to think that you're going to be a championship team in a year or 2. So picking a Shedeur Sanders will help them out. We'll probably sell tickets for the next 2 or 3 years. So those are good things when it comes to this draft. But I really think that there will be other teams making a lot of these moves. Like I said, the Giants, I'm predicting will move up to get a quarterback. Dallas will probably move up to get either Ashton Ginty or Hampton at running back. There's a lot of good running backs on the board. We looked at them last week. So I think those are very doable, and we can get that. Let's see. These are scouting reports here. This will help. Okay, Cam Ward. Yeah, more drafts for quarterbacks. Where was that site? Oh, I know. It was a different site. That's right. But you look at, for running backs, you look at, where are we at here? Running backs. Obviously, we have Ashton Ginty. He's the big number 1. He's the consensus number 1 across the board. Ashton Ginty. Cam Skattebo. Isn't it Skattebo or is it Skattebo? I have to look that up. I mispronounce every word. My wife says that makes it seem like I don't know what I'm doing. I just read everybody's name. That's my problem. But Omarion Hampton, I think, is the big number 2 in the running back situation. I think Omarion Hampton is the one that I think he could be the best running back out of this. Now, what does that mean? The NFL draft, as many of you are aware, and I think Jim Rome used to have this commercial on ESPN, 25 years ago, that the NFL draft is one of the biggest crapshoots in all of sports. So, I'm thinking Omarion Hampton has speed and he has size. He could really, really be a good, punch to the gut for whatever team that picks him up. So I would not be disappointed if my team got Hampton rather than Ginty. If they got the second, because Ginty's probably going to be the first running back off the board. All right. Hampton, I'm guessing, or I'm thinking, should be the second running back off the board. But, a lot of it is we have to just wait and see how everything goes, obviously. But Let's see here. What other kinds of questions do you guys have though with the draft? Anything about your teams? Last night we had someone talking about Carolina. They'll probably go with a defensive player unless there's some offensive player who's just skated by, at least for the first round. And then after that, they might pick up a running back. I'm hearing in the second round because Adam Thielen's a little bit older. I think he'll be 35 or he is 35, and you can't really rely on him for too much longer. I mean, let's face. Oh, Tony, they need to stop overhyping rookies. Let's say, will they be awesome in the pros? We don't know. Yeah, I mean, Tony, you're 100% right. As I keep saying, the NFL draft is the biggest crapshoot in all sports. I mean, I think the baseball draft and the hockey draft are much better than this. I mean, you really don't know what you get. Football is the kind of sport where once you're drafted, you have to keep working at it. You have to get better. You can't live off the money. It really is about your physicality. It's about your speed. It's about your conditioning. Let's face it, in baseball, look at Albert Pujols, and I'm from St. Louis. That's why I saw a lot of this. Look at Albert Pujols. Back in 01 when he was a rookie, 02, somewhere in there, the first couple of years, thin, fast, all of those kinds of things. Now, he did have plantar fasciitis. I think that's how you pronounce it. I butcher every word. But at the end of his career, he was a big league ball player. And so baseball, you can get away with some of that stuff. Where in football, you have to stay at the top physical condition. All right. I'm not going to get into a debate as to what the hardest sport is. Hockey probably is up there because you got to learn how to skate. But I'm telling you, NFL players are probably the best athletes in the world, bar none. I mean, you look at a lot of the pro athletes who've gone to the Olympics and played other sports. There was people that bobsledded. There were all kinds of different athletes who have gone in and out of other sports from the NFL. And so my point is, yeah, you're right. I mean, we just don't know, and you have to put in the work. You have to put in the time in the NFL. It's not one of the, like golf. I mean, look at John Daly. Now, he doesn't win a lot anymore, but he won 2 majors, and he was never what I would say conditioned. So, he just did it his way. Basketball, you have to be pretty well conditioned. But if you look at Luka Doncic, when he was traded to the Lakers, he was not as svelte as he once was a few years ago. So you can get away with some of these things in other sports. Football, you just have to put in the time. You have to know the playbook from an offensive standpoint. You have to put in the physical time, the working out, the training, all of those kinds of things. And there is a lot of brain use there. So, but let's get back to the draft. All right. So when it comes to, biggest splashes in the NFL, let's just talk about a few things that might come up. I've already talked about, hey, Muhammad Cortez, how are you? Are you still around? Thanks for joining. All right, Tony, NFL is more about watching game film, study the playbook, practice. Yes, it is. But yes, you're right. You're right about that. But I think you have to be very well conditioned because even if you're not the running back, if you're, Jason Kelsey, you have to be able to push people off the line of scrimmage. You have to be powerful. You have to continue to work out and push yourself from that standpoint. But you're right. It is about watching game film, but it's also about hitting that gym. I mean, it's one of the things, even if you play high school football, half of your practices probably are spent in the weight room because it's all about physicality. It's all about how strong you are and how much you can push yourself. All right. But when we talk about teams that could make a big splash, again, Tony, to your point right now, all right. One of the things that I see is Dallas has a huge need for a running back. There's a pretty strong running back draft in 2025. And, they could trade up to try to get Ashton Jeanty. They could, I keep saying Hampton. Maybe they have somebody else on their mind, but they could trade up and make a big splash. I think the Giants picking 3rd. All right. Now, they very well could pick Abdul Carter, but that still leaves them with a quarterback of the future. Now, they're probably going to want to get, a really good quarterback. So I do tend to agree that if Shedeur Sanders is still available in the 20s, there's a chance that the Giants trade up to get Shedeur Sanders, even though they've signed Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson in the offseason. So the Giants could make a splash depending upon what their pick is at number 3. At number 3, they may pick Shedeur Sanders. They may think that he's one of the best out there. I'm also seeing some information that's telling me that Miami might trade up against Carolina. Carolina might have sort of quote unquote the availability because they're looking heavily at people like Abdul Carter, because they have the number 8 pick, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, who probably won't be around. So there's a chance that, I don't know that Miami has to trade for an offensive tackle. I mean, maybe all the things that happened to Tua last year, they're thinking that's a good move. So seems like every year the same teams have very early picks in the draft. Well, that's because the Browns have been bad for a long time, Tony. I'm not mocking you. I'm just saying they have been bad for a long time. The Giants have not been good for a while. Tennessee, a couple of years ago, I think they had a decent team, but they're up there. The Patriots haven't been good the last couple of years. So yeah, Jacksonville hasn't been. Raiders, the Jets. Yeah, I mean, it really had the Panthers. Now, one report that I saw is that Philadelphia trades up with New Orleans, and New Orleans has a number 9 pick, that Philadelphia trades up to try to get Michael Williams from Georgia. So, I don't know that Philadelphia needs to make a big splash. They may move up to get a specific need. But I think Dallas needs, they're obviously on the cheap. Dallas doesn't want to spend any money. So what I'm thinking is they need to trade up to get a running back. They have a big hole at running back right now. I think the Giants, depending upon what they do at number 3, if they don't pick Shedeur Sanders, Trevor Lawrence, if they don't, let me just finish this and I'll get to Tony. If they don't pick Shedeur Sanders at number 3, there's a good chance that late in the first round, in the 20s, they trade up to get, quarterback. Maybe not Shedeur, but maybe it's somebody like well, obviously it's not Cam Ward, but Milroe, maybe Jackson Dart, who everyone keeps talking about. Trevor Lawrence supposedly was going to be a once in a generation talent, but hasn't done anything. Well, Trevor Lawrence really didn't have a great team around him. I don't think his offensive line was all that great. Brian Thomas broke out as a receiver. They didn't really have much in the way of receiving until Brian Thomas stepped up and continued to step up through about midway through the season. So, and their running back situation is abysmal. 2 years ago it was fine. Last year it was awful. Nobody could pick up any yards running the ball. I do think Trevor Lawrence, let's see what he does this year. They've made some improvements. If he doesn't step up to that next level, then yeah, I would say that he's a bust. I would say that he's a bust, but he had that injury. He didn't have a lot of weapons last year. Brian Thomas stepped up, but that was almost after he got injured, which kind of stinks, but there is that. So my thought is I'll give him one more year. And I just think when we hear about the generational talent, that there is really no such thing. It's a little bit of luck. I mean, Eli Manning, if he got injured or if he didn't pan out, not that they didn't think that he would pan out, but his brother did not pan out as much as he did. I mean, Eli had a much better career than his brother. And and he was first overall, I believe, his brother. So, the Mannings are a good example. Ryan Leaf, back in the 90s when Manning was picked, Leaf went number 1. Manning went, I think, number 2. Leaf was a complete bust. Lawrence Phillips, back in the 90s, the Rams picked at number 6. They should have, or 6 or 8 or something like that. They should have never picked him up. He's a top 10 running back at the time in the draft. I mean, those are cases that come to my mind. I know there's a lot more since then. There's been a lot of quarterbacks that you question. Yeah, Jamarcus Russell is another one, just a total and utter bust. And you got to figure that. That's why I'm always partial to getting talent that a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, is like an old saying, meaning if you have a bird, let's say you're hungry and you have a bird in your hand, going after the two in the bush. It's better than having the one in your hand than going after the two in the bush, because you might not get either of them, So like, if I was a GM, I would probably make a lot of trades to get players that I know who are good, assurances. And oftentimes what happens is, and maybe I'm wrong here, but you guys correct me. A lot of times what happens is they'll try to get a player who's been playing, who they know, a known commodity, and they'll give up like a second and third round pick to get him, and he was a first round pick. Like, you even get better deals in some of these trades. I don't know why there isn't more of that. I just think that these GMs are waiting to find their lottery ticket so much that they lose focus with these drafts. It's weird. Lots of superstar college players are pro bust, but guys you never heard of do well. Again, I'm going to go back to Tony on this one, and I agree with you. Like, I think I was saying this earlier. I think what really happens is players get to the NFL and they don't put in the time. They don't work as hard. They got their payday. Well, now they have paydays in college, but they got their payday and they don't work as hard. That's part of what I think it is. They've been working, or sometimes what it is they fit in a system. The system that was in their college, they get drafted, and it's a different system that they get selected in. And there's examples of this. Nothing jumps to the top of my head, but there are examples where, it's a different offense, or if it's a different kind of, the checkdowns, and who you look at first, and what kind of plays. Are they a big play? Maybe they don't have a fast wide receiver, and in college all he had was fast wide receivers, so he can spread the field, but he can't do that here. So some of it is his work ethic, some of it is the system they get in. But I mean, you look at like Johnny Manziel, who was a total and utter bust. He put up gaudy numbers, but he just didn't have his head screwed on right. And I think I recently heard that, he regrets what happened. He went to the CFL. He got, I think, kicked out of the CFL, or he lost a job there. I mean, here's a guy that had the world in his hand. He could basically do whatever he wanted. But what happened was he just didn't he wanted to party. He wanted to go out. He wasn't taking it seriously. And if you think about it to a certain extent, when you're a superstar, like through college, you're a superstar in high school, then you're a superstar in 8th grade, 7th grade, whatever it is. People treat you differently. You're getting interviewed by like local media in high school, and even before high school, you're probably getting interviewed. You're a superstar. You walk down the hall, and girls look at you, and guys want to be you, and it's that whole thing. Girls want to be with you, guys want to be you. Everybody's sort of jealous of you from some standpoint. Hey, Joe Flacco's here. Love to see you when Joe Flacco joins. Thank you, Joe. I really enjoyed your career when you were with the Ravens, by the way. But I think what happens is, they get the money from the pros, they get all the freebies, all that kind of stuff, and then they just don't work as hard. I also said, think that some of it is the system. I also think that sometimes, you're dealing with faster, bigger people, all right? And they're hitting you, and they're trying to kill you every single weekend. And that's a difference. I mean, if you think about it, the people who play college football, even at like a D1 school like Alabama, how many of them really make the pros? What is it like? I want to say years ago they were saying it's 1%, but maybe, I don't know, maybe Alabama has 5%. But most of those kids are going to be like high school coaches. Maybe they get, on with the UFL, but 70% of them are going to have to get jobs. So they have to do more than what they're doing. Who would win? Worst NFL team versus best college football team? I think the worst NFL team would win. I know that sounds crazy. And there were times when I was growing up, when the Buccaneers were really bad, and a couple teams, there could have been some teams. I do think with NIL, you get like these super teams, and they're like quasi NFL teams. I think now you could probably have a better competition, a better game between the best college team and the worst NFL team, because a lot of these guys are even staying in longer because they're getting more money with NIL money. So they're closer to it. They're not worried about just making the pros or making money now. But I still think the NFL team, I know people say that, oh, Ohio State would beat, the Browns or, whatever the case might be. Tennessee, they remember, who could beat Tennessee this year? Well, Ohio State or somebody like that. Okay. Alabama could beat these guys. I still don't think that's the case. They still have much more bigger people playing on a regular basis. All right, let's just reset real quick. If you're on, please hit that like button. I would appreciate it. Also, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you know when I go live, and hit that follow button on TikTok so you know when I go live. All right, let's talk about some of the teams that might make the biggest splashes. Now, Tony, some of this you probably heard. If you think of any other teams, jump in like you have been all night. But I tend to think that Dallas has to make a move. They've shown that they're really, 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 really cheap. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Dallas is really cheap. What's a good way? You can sign one of these rookie running backs. You can move up and get Ginty. You can get Hampton. You can get, well, he's my number 2. I don't know if he's everybody's number 2, but you can get one of these top running backs, and let me just see here. Oh, this is wrong. Or if you need a quarterback in Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, you can go after Milroe, so there's a lot of really good, that's quarterback though. We're talking running backs. There's Hampton. Let's see who else. I like Caleb. Where is he at? Caleb Johnson. Ashton Ginty, of course. Where did that go? He's not in here? Khalil Mullins, that's not it. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Was he? Am I getting him confused? Let's see. Caden, Kobe, Caden. Yeah. Oh, this list doesn't have everybody. This must be an old list. All right. So yeah, I mean, let me go to the rankings, because this thing, ranking of 2025 NFL draft by position. Where was that one site that I went to? It was really good. Did I not keep it? NFL draft prospect, all rankings. Draft experts, super teams. I don't care about that. All right. So let's look at here. What is this going to tell me? Travis Hunter, Colorado. Okay, this isn't helping me out at all. Ashton Ginty. Yeah, I know. He's the number 1 running back. Do we have it by position? God. NFL draft. Nope, they don't break it down by position. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Ginty, Hampton. Bayshul Tutin. They have number 3. Quinchen Judkins, Henderson. Caleb Johnson is one that I thought was higher. Yeah, you look at Ashton Ginty, he's 5'9", 211. He's a little undersized, but I know that he does have some speed. These don't have their 40 times, but so yeah, I mean, I think Dallas needs to make a big move. I think they need to make a big trade because they're cheap, and they need a running back. So there's that. I do think that the Giants, if they pick someone like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, depending upon what Cleveland does, that there's a good chance they'll trade up and be late in the first round and get a quarterback. Now, it might not be Shedeur Sanders. Running quarterbacks never win Super Bowls. It's always the tradition in the pocket quarterbacks that win them. Well, yeah, I mean, the quarterback this year could run. I mean, he had no problem running, although he had a great running back, so he didn't have to run as much, and that's why they probably won the Super Bowl. But yeah, Jalen Hurts can run. I'm looking to see what Jaden Daniels can do. I do tend to agree with you. You look at Tom Brady, he was a pocket passer. Eli Manning was a pocket passer. You look at Mahomes could run. Mahomes could run. Now he wasn't Lamar Jackson kind of running, but he could run. He ran a lot more when he was younger, and he tends to run in big games because he has no offensive line. So I wouldn't say that he's Lamar Jackson, but he can run. The problem with the running quarterback is they open themselves up to injury too much. And so a lot of times they're injured, and they don't even make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's part of what I'm thinking on your answer there, Tony. It's a good point. But I do think, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you have like Lamar Jackson, will he make a Super Bowl? He should make a Super Bowl, but will he make a Super Bowl? I can't guarantee that. But he's good enough and the team's good enough to make a Super Bowl. Well, Josh Allen could easily make a Super Bowl. Now, neither one of them have, but Josh Allen runs. Mahomes has run. I'm just trying to think. Jalen Hurts runs a little bit, but not as much. But yeah, I mean, there's no prolific running quarterback that's won a Super Bowl. You're exactly right about that. And I think part of that too is a team that wins the Super Bowl has to have the weapons. They have to have a balanced attack. You can't just be running, you can't just be throwing. Although, over the last 30 years, quarterbacks throw a lot more than they used to. But, if you think about it, Dan Marino in the 80s threw a lot. John Elway threw a lot. But you have to have that balanced attack in the NFL. And so that's why pocket passers are still a thing. That's why they're still important. They have to avoid the rush, but yeah, I mean, I do think it opens them up, the quarterbacks that is, when they run, it opens them up to injuries, to take a lot more hits, make the games a lot longer, take a lot more out of them. But I think with Derrick Henry, if they got a better defense, the Ravens could make it to the Super Bowl. I'm not sold on what they've done defensively right now. Their defense at the end of last year was awful. It was an awful defense. So I mean, they were like in the 20s, late 20s, 30s every week with their points against, fantasy points against, the number I kept looking at. So, that was one of their big faults. They had to win by scoring 50 points or 40 points every single week. And you just can't sustain that week in and week out. But yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Running quarterbacks, predominantly, you still see a lot of pocket passers who win the NFL to a certain extent. And I think Jalen Hurts won because of Saquon Barkley. He didn't have to use his legs as much because he had such a running. Tony, I don't really have a team. I live in St. Louis. My team, I've lived long enough to lose 2 NFL teams. We're never going to get another NFL team. Now, I will say that I do have a soft spot in my heart for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not really sure. I went to the only NFL game that I went to this year was a Bengals game. My son and I drove to Cincinnati and we saw the game. I'm hoping he wants to do that again next year. I know he wants to go to Indy for a couple games, but I've always sort of liked Cincinnati. Now, I've liked San Francisco. I was a fan of the Buffalo Bills during their run. Obviously, they lost all 4 times. I was a huge Rams fan. As soon as the Rams came, I was a huge Rams fan. But you have to remember, in the early 90s, I didn't have a team. The football Cardinals had left and gone to Arizona. I didn't have a team until 95, 96 when the Rams showed up. So I was a Bills fan. I didn't really like the Cowboys. I always liked San Francisco. I liked them because of Joe Montana. I like Steve Young. I like their teams. Bill Walsh, I really liked as a coach. And then let's see. I like Cincinnati a lot. They've screwed up some quarterbacks, but I like Cincinnati. I'd love to see the Browns be good. I love the fact that the Lions are good. But I will say this, that I think that I don't know that Jared Goff is the guy in Detroit, Tony. And it looks like it's you and me right now. But I don't know that he's the quarterback that's going to lead them to the promised land. I just don't think Jared Goff has it. I know that they like him. I know that the coach likes him. But if you look at their last couple of games, hey, Andrew's here. Hey, Andrew. I know Andrew. So, hey, is he come? Hey, Andrew, what's up, man?
Yo, how's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm playing pickleball right now. I just want to stop by the live.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, man. How's pickleball going? Are you winning?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I lost like 4 to 5 games, so it's all right.
Okay.
It's pretty good fun.
All right. Hey, are you getting ready for the draft, man? Are you excited about the draft? Andrew, are you thinking about the draft? I don't know if he's there. All right. Tony says Lions, Jags, Bengals, Panthers either never been or won Super Bowls. Cat teams don't trust cat teams. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Tony. Hey, Andrew, you there? Okay, I think he's off. All right. Well, I'm glad he joined us. All right. Yeah. I just don't think, Tony, I really don't think that Jared Goff, I mean, Jared Goff led the Rams to a Super Bowl. They lost and they quickly turned around and traded him and got Matthew Stafford and won a Super Bowl. And they look to be sleeper's a stupid term because they're not a sleeper, but they look to be a team that can do very well this year. They've made some upgrades. The Cooper Kupp thing, I think they stopped using him towards the end of the season, but whatever. They got Devontae Adams. That'll help them. It'll make, the fan base excited because they lost Cooper Kupp. But, I do think that the Rams should win the NFC West and they played the Eagles the best in the playoffs. And that's the one thing that I keep thinking about. And that's the one thing everybody keeps reminding me about. Coward said Rams and Chargers don't have true loyal fans because LA only cares about the Lakers. I lived in LA for 5 years, and that is true. The Lakers and the Dodgers are the only two sports that anybody cares about in Los Angeles. Everything else is just because okay, here's the thing about LA, all right? Most of the people, maybe not most of the people, but a big chunk of the people come from other areas and move to Los Angeles. So they're transient. They're not they weren't they didn't grow up in LA. Let's just put it that way. So that's part of the problem. That was the one thing when I lived there, everybody talked about. Now, and so when you go there, you kind of become a Lakers fan by default because that's all they talk about. And Dodgers opening day, like I live in St. Louis and it's a big deal, but it is like a religious experience in Los Angeles. People tailgate all, overnight almost, I think. It is a really big deal getting those tickets. And I was there when they were bad in the late 90s and early 2000s. And getting those tickets was impossible to get. All right. Now I was able to go for some other reasons because I had a client that sponsored the Dodgers, but that was a big portion of it. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the Rams, well, there was a game this year where the Rams were playing and they were doing pretty well, during the season, but it sounded like a home game for the other team. And that's the way it's been since the Rams moved back. Now, maybe after they won the Super Bowl, maybe people actually went to a couple games that following year. But since they moved there again, because as you know, Cleveland, it was the Cleveland Rams. Then they moved to Los Angeles. Then they moved to St. Louis. And they moved back to Los Angeles. But when they moved back the second time after being in St. Louis, they did not have good fan. They didn't have a big group of fans. Plus, they were playing in that horrible Coliseum, I believe. Or maybe were they playing in the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum when they came back? But both of those are huge, cavernous, nothing college stadiums that need, about $7 billion of updates. So, yeah. I mean, and the Chargers don't really draw. I would love to get the Chargers in St. Louis. I thought that might be a thing, but I don't think that's going to be a thing anymore. Or I mean, anymore. I say it like there was a chance, but they're not going to. I mean, St. Louis will probably never get another NFL team, which kind of stinks. So I have to pick. Now, I do get a lot of like on free TV. I do get a lot of the Kansas City Chiefs And they're on Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football and Saturday Football and all that a lot. So you get to see a lot of them. I do like them, but I am kind of sick of them now. And I know that they're older. I mean, Travis Kelce needs to retire. They should be called the New Jersey Giants and New Jersey Jets. Yes, you're right. But they've been playing in the Meadowlands. They're still in the Meadowlands, right? I know their old stadium was. They've been playing in New Jersey forever. I mean, for decades, 40, 50 years or something like that. So yeah, they should be. No doubt about it. They should be, but they're never going to. New York's never going to allow that. The NFL probably won't allow that to happen because New York has is a lot more money than New Jersey. Let's just put it that way, calling them New York. So, but you always hear a couple of years ago, I think, or every once in a while they say, oh, Jacksonville might move. They don't have a lot of fan participation. And like St. Louis is the biggest market without an NFL team. But after we sued them, we won $780 million or whatever. They're probably not happy with us. But I do think that probably in 10 years, they're not going to be able to avoid us anymore. We're just too big of a media outlet. Yes, the city doesn't have anybody living in it anymore. It's like 300,000 people or less than that. I don't even know. But the metro area is 3 million people or more, depending upon how far out you go. But so yeah, I think in 10 years they'll be talking about it again. There's a lot of people here. There's Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which is family owned. They own the soccer team here. They also are where the Blues play. They have the naming rights there. Weirdest stat in NFL history. In 2010, Chargers had number 1 offense, number 1 defense, and they missed the playoffs. Wow. That's a great stat, Tony. That is a tremendous. How in the heck does that happen? They had the number 1. So when you say number 1 offense, you mean they put up the most points, and number 1 defense, they allowed the least amount of points. So I guess what was happening was they were crushing the really bad teams like 27-0, and they were losing like 10-7 to the other teams. I guess if you looked into it, but that's just off the top of my head. That is a great stat. That is a tremendous stat. So, all right, guys, I've been on. I'll try to go live maybe this weekend. So hopefully I'll hear from you again. Tony, thanks for watching. I hope that you follow me. I think you do. I mean, Tony is, it's not like you're Tony Badger, like Mark Badger, I think might be on here or something like that. It's not like a name that, Tony is a relatively common name. So I hope you follow me. So they rank number 1 offensively and defensively. That is crazy. I'll have to look that up. All right, guys, I will see you. I'll probably try to talk to you over the weekend. Have fun. If anything big hits, maybe I'll jump online and go live, but we'll see. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Hope all is well with everybody. Let me just get out of here because